Good evening and welcome to the Brookings County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. This meeting is being recorded, televised, and viewable on Swift Channel 19, ITC Channel 168, or the Brookings County YouTube channel. And I'll call this meeting to order. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion? Motion by Diedrich.
Second.
Second by Erickson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Items to be added to the agenda by commission members or staff.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman, just during my staff report.
Okay. Invitation for citizens to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. Seeing none. Disclosure of conflicts of interest, relationships to applicant or ex parte communication.
I do. Item number 16.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none. Approval of agenda. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Bartley.
Second.
Second by Vanderwall. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I now call this meeting to order. I would like to welcome those in attendance at tonight's meeting. The Brookings County Planning Commission is a 9-member commission whose function is to recommend approval or disapproval of land use plans, zoning ordinances, subdivision plats, and amendments thereof of the Brookings County Commission. The commission makes its recommendation based on the adopted comprehensive plan for the physical development of the unincorporated areas of Brookings County. As a matter of policy, all motions are to be made in the positive. After a motion is moved and seconded, it is open for debate. Those supporting the motion shall in turn give their reasons. Those opposing the motion shall then offer their reasons. After everyone has been given a chance to be heard, the commission shall recommend approval or disapproval based on the testimony and information presented. A simple majority vote of a quorum of members of the Planning and Zoning Board in attendance is required to forward a recommendation. Agenda item 8, amend Article 4 District Requirements, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection, adopted by Ordinance 2018-03. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich. Second by Gatsky. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, this will be an update to Article 4, Zoning Districts, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 4.0603, Establishment and Delineation of Aquifer Protection Overlay Zones to amend Map 3 by removing the lower portion of the said marked A map as noted. The lower portion was a private well that was used for the Western Estates trailer court, as noted on the map. The water right for the Western Estates well was canceled on May 4, 2006, by then the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources, as the well was no longer being used for the trailer park and they had started to get their water from Brookings Municipal Utilities. The well has been removed and is no longer there. The attached maps 3 shows the area outlined in green that is being removed. All other areas will remain the same. We will also be adding map page 11, dated April 2013, to the wellhead protection area map as drawn by Leach Companies, 13400 15th Avenue North, Minneapolis, Minnesota 55441 for the Lincoln Pipestone Rural Water, located at 415 East Benton Street, Lake Benton, Minnesota 56149. Lincoln Pipestone has 2 wells located southeast of Elkton and wanted to add those wells to the wellhead protection area of the ordinance. The addition of the wells to the wellhead map will match up with the wellhead protection as designated on their wells located on the Minnesota side, so all of their wells will be in a wellhead protection zone. And the rest of the updates are name changes to state agencies and a reference to the Natural Resource Conservation Service document number and name change. This is the ordinance. The highlighted yellow areas of what we are adding. The green striked out areas are what we are removing, and the turquoise is what we're replacing in those areas that we struck out. This is on page 3. The yellow area we'll be adding by adding map page 11 dated April 2013 to the wellhead protection areas as map drawn by Leach Companies. 13,400 15th Avenue North, Minneapolis, Minnesota 55441 for Lincoln Pipestone Rural Water, 415 East Benton Street, Lake Benton, Minnesota. We're going to strike out South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources, replace it with the current name. They had a name change and consolidation of a couple departments. So they are now known as the South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. There's another change, update to the name. This is where we're updating the NRCS document that was referenced in here. The waste storage pond 425 is no longer valid. It's been replaced with conservation practice solid standard waste storage facility code 313. Another name change, the South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources. And DENR was the abbreviations for that. We just updated it to the new name. And this is the map. This is the area that will be removed from the wellhead protection map. Right here is the wellhead that was used for Western Estates. This greened outline area will be removed. This red area right here will stay the same and not be modified. This is the wellhead protection area for Lincoln Pipestone. This is the South Dakota side right here, green hashed areas. This is the beacon map showing those areas. Purple hashed areas is where their well fields are located. Lincoln Pipestone owns that property. And it just puts these two areas on either side of that in the wellhead protection area. And that's all that I have.
Thank you. I'll now open the public portion of the hearing on this. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing. To the board, is there a motion to approve this? Okay. Wondering there. Any discussion from members of the board? Seeing none, Richard, would you call a vote?
Bartley,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes. Nope. From here, it goes on to the county commission for their public hearing and reading, and it'll be, once it's approved there, it'll go on and be published and take effect 20 days after the publication. So there is another step, and will be another public hearing for this during the county commission meeting.
Thank you. Moving on, agenda item number 9, consideration of plats. Agenda item 2022, plat 004, plat of lots 1 and 2 of CKS Partners Edition in the southwest 1/4 of section 20, township 110, north range 49W of the 5th prime rating, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall,
Second.
second by Troyan. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2022, plat 004, CKS Partners is platting off the 76.25 acres they own in 2 lots. Lot 1 will be 24.5 acres, and Lot 2 will be 52.7 acres. Lot 1 is being platted for purchase by an adjoining landowner, and the purchaser will combine Lot 1 with their existing parcel and replat it into one larger parcel, and it will have access off 34th Avenue. Lot 2 is a buildable lot for residents, as it contains more than 35-acre requirement, and Lot 2 will have access off a U.S. Highway 14 bypass. Both lots are in the joint jurisdictional area, and part of Lot 1 and all of Part 2 are in the floodplain, and the plat meets the platting requirements of the 2016 Comprehensive Plan for the unincorporated area on page 24 for agricultural land use. This is the plat. Lots 2 and lots 1. This is lot 1 will get combined with this parcel to the north, and they'll combine those 2 parcels into one. And they'll have access over here on 34th Avenue for that parcel. And lot 2 will have access right here on the Highway 14 bypass. Just showing the beacon map with the 2 parcels platted out of there. Just beacon map showing the floodplain with the proposed parcels in there. And that's all that I have. The applicant is not here this evening. So.
That being stated, we'll move to the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody on the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Erickson,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn, Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on to agenda item 2022, Plat 005, plat of Lot 1 of Forsyth Edition and Government Lot 2 of Section 4, Township 111 North, Range 47W of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jensen. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Bartley. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2022 Plat 005. The Forsyth family is platting off an existing 10-acre building site from the 120 acres they own. The building site has an existing access off 202nd Street and Lake Hendricks, which is a Lake Hendricks Township gravel road. And the plat meets the platting requirements of the 2016 Comprehensive Plan on page 24 of the agricultural land use section. Just the plat, just showing the Lot 1, the 10 acres right there of the existing building site, 202nd Street. Here's the proposed plat on a beacon map, going around the perimeter of the trees, like that, existing building site and other outbuildings. Beacon map showing the whole parcel. There's the outlined area, be the proposed plat. And that's all that I have. The applicant is not here this evening either.
If the applicant isn't here, we'll move to the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody on the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you call the vote?
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Erickson, and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Agenda item 2022, Plat 005, plat of Lot 1 of Forsyth Edition and Government Lot 2 of Section 4, Township.
We just did that one.
Doubling me up on my papers tonight.
Board of Adjustment.
We will now convene as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment is a 9-member board which has the power to hear requests for variances, conditional uses, appeals from the non-ministerial decisions of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of 2/3 of a full board membership of the board, 6 votes, is necessary for approval of a variance or an appeal to the zoning officer. The concurring vote of a simple majority of those board members present and voting is necessary for approval of a conditional use permit. In accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, we require a motion to approve a request before the request can be debated. As a matter of policy, all motions are to be made in the positive. The board, under specific powers granted to it by the state, shall authorize variances from the zoning requirements where special conditions existing on the land will result in an unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Financial disadvantage to the property owner shall not constitute proof of an unnecessary hardship. Moving on to agenda item 2022 variant 005, postponed from the March 1st, 2022. Bradley Vostead has made an application 2022 variant 005 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance Article 4 District Requirements, Chapter 4.03 LP Lake Park District, Section 4.03.03 Density, Area, and Yard Regulation, minimum lakefront and minimum side yard. The property is described as Lot 26 of DeBoer's Lake Tonkaha West Subdivision in Government Lots 4 and 5 in the southeast 1/4 of Section 7, Township 111 North, Range 51W, Oakwood Township, located at 43 Oakwood Shoreline Drive, Bruce, South Dakota 57220. Is there a motion to remove this from the table?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich,
Second.
second by Bartley. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, I'll read the staff report with the updated information. Bradley 22005, variance 005, Bradley Vostead has applied for an after-the-fact variance for a deck built on the shoreline, and a future attached screened-in porch, and a set of stairs for the deck. The applicant updated his application with some more information after the March 1st meeting. The applicant provided the variance would be for item A. I'll go through the item areas here. For the lakeshore deck, it's 18 feet wide and 42 feet long, and extends out beyond the retaining wall 31 inches with a 0-foot setback from the highest known water mark. And the north end of the deck follows the contour of the shoreline and does not extend over the shoreline. It follows back into the ground. Item B is the stairs for the deck, and they are 6 inches from the side property line. It also allows access to the deck and down to the lower portion of the lakeside there. And item C, we'd like to move an existing attached deck and screen porch as they are in need of repair or need to be replaced. The current deck is 16 by 16. You'd like to replace that with one that is 38 feet long, which would be the length of the house, and 16 feet wide. It'd be a combination deck and screen porch. And also there would be a proposed deck and it would extend out 23 feet from the highest known water mark. And there also would be a secondary deck above the deck you would like to replace. That would extend out 6 feet from the house and be 22 feet long on that. And the applicant did apply for a shoreline modification permit, installing the retaining wall by the Game Fish and Parks. The applicant did receive a building permit for that, for a shoreline modification. The wooden deck and the other projects he was working on, he did not apply for variance for. Things to consider are the shape and the size of the lot. Lake lots and cabin have been existed on Lake Titankaha, otherwise known as Lake Oakwood, since the 1930s and 40s. Prior to the zoning requirements, DeBoer's Lake Titankaha West Subdivision was originally platted in 1984 and was replatted in June of 2003 when the original road was vacated and relocated. The Brookings County Comprehensive Plan, under the plan future land use for developed lakes and future land use, found on page 58, says it's likely that the established development areas of Lake Campbell Lake Hendricks, Lake Titankaha, and Lake Poncet will experience continuing development in varying degrees, while non-lakefront growth exists for all lakes. Significant lakefront area is appropriately zoned and subdivided in some cases adjacent to the lakes. Titankaha, Hendricks, and Campbell. And public notices were published on February 15th and 22nd, 2022, in the Brookings Register and in the Volga Tribune on February 17th and 24th, 2022. This is his variance application. This is his site map. This is a proposed deck that's down on the lake shore. Our retaining wall is right here. This is his stairway and landing, and it's attached to the deck here that he would like to replace and build new. And this is the deck. This is the stairways that is 6 inches from the side property line. And from this stairway landing to the highest known water mark, it's 23 feet. This is a 6 by 22 secondary deck, or second story deck he would like to build above his 16 by 38 deck, which part would be deck and part would be screened in porch. It would extend the whole way across, and it would extend out the same width of the existing deck, which is 16 feet. That is already there. This is his reasons for he's applying for the variance. His hardships is what he's noting there. Just pictures of this is the attached deck, or the deck down on the lake shore. This is the secondary landing and deck. That would be 23 feet from the highest known water mark. This would be 6 inches from the property line. This would be the first secondary deck, 16 feet wide and 38 feet long. This is his second story deck, which is 6 feet wide and 22 feet long. This is the overhang that extends over the existing retaining wall that's in question here. It's just looking back up there from the lake towards his house. This would be the screened-in porch, and this would be the deck that would be removed off of there. A little better picture of those two structures. Shows the beacon map here prior to the shoreline modification on there. You can kind of see the deck existing right here. There's some photos that was taken. Existing deck and screened in porch looking towards the southeast, or south I will say. It's located on a curve, so if you whether you want to call it east or south, that's to each their own, I guess, but I'm calling it south on there. This is the extended deck here. This is where the deck curves around back away from the lake shoreline back into his property. There's the extended portion of the deck that extends out over the retaining wall. And then again, just a view of the stairs and deck on there. And the applicant is here this evening, and that's all that I have.
I guess if the applicant would step forward, have a seat, and clearly state your name.
My name is Bradley Vostead.
You have anything to add to Rich?
Well,
As of this point?
When I talked to Richard, he said you got to really make the case for the hardship. And the hardship, of course, is it's a 50-foot lot. And then when it was replatted in 2003, our lots shifted to the westerly or northwesterly area. So I don't have the correct setback even on the original side of the cabin. The other part about it is that the stairway is completely covering the slope, which is just a hazard all the time because it's a 2-to-1 slope going down. And parts of it are as steep as the road ditch is out at our farm just north of Brookings, where it's so hard you can hardly walk down it. So the thought was to cover it with stairs, put riprap and stuff under it so it doesn't wash away, and get rid of the maintenance hazard. I mean, I've had my place for 28 years, And now that I'm in my 60s, it's very, very difficult to mow it. And if you go back and forth, which would be east or west, your lawnmower actually, the oil runs to one side and it starts to knock. It's that steep. I discussed this with my neighbors, and they support me as far as bringing the deck as close to their landscaping as possible so there just doesn't have to be that maintenance issue. They have landscaping that comes up to it. It also would protect anybody that would be coming in between our lots. They'd have to take my stairs going down versus going down the 2-to-1 slope.
Is there any other questions from members of the board? We'll go to the public portion of the hearing and then come back there for more comments and questions from you there in a second here. So I'll now open the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing and move back to the board for additional comments and questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions. Obviously, we approached this at our last meeting with a deck that hangs over the rocks, over the lake, and basically, you could bring that picture back up, Richard, right there. And we required them to move that back to the retaining wall. Do you remember that?
Yes.
We would have to do the same here.
Okay, so my question is, because of the contour and the lot to the west, if you went with riprap instead of that, mine curves in. Are you going to make me do it round, or can I leave it square? And you see what I'm saying there?
You could make it round, the deck. Why couldn't you?
Well, it's more of a hazard for somebody to slip off it if you're
We're going to slip off it if it's square, if it's round.
walking in the dark and thinking.
Well, I'm not going to argue with the point. The point is, we can't have it hanging over the retaining wall.
Okay.
Essentially, that becomes a liability issue if we permit that for the county. So, yeah, we didn't do it there for a good reason on that liability, and I can't vote for it extending out over the wall. Okay, that's one thing. Two, we go back to the stairway going up, and I see the landscaping on both sides right up to the property line, and obviously we have some setback requirements for those types of things that we aren't following here. So the hardship to you is the slope coming down.
Yes, and trying to alleviate that problem. The maintenance is very difficult.
Okay. But as I look at the picture, the steps could have been, they'd probably still be out of compliance, Richard, if it were moved to the right.
But then you still have that, whatever distance from the lot line going to the stairs, you still have to maintain that somehow. And then
Landscaping
people
of some
can,
sort, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then people can walk down that.
It's your property. You can determine whether or not people walk down it, I guess, to a certain degree, because it's private. It's not public access.
Not
Okay.
public access to the lake.
No, it's not public access. So your neighbor to the side of you there has got a really nice terrace landscaping there, so people aren't going to walk through that landscaping to get down there. You could have done the same and moved that over to the right. So you've got an area between the steps now and the existing deck. And is that proposed to close that all the way up to the stairway then with the new deck?
I'm sorry?
Are you proposing to close
Yes, yes,
that area all the way to the deck?
yes.
So
So-
the new
so
deck will extend over to the stairways
The deck will extend 3 feet beyond the side of my house to meet the stairs.
to meet the stairs. Okay. So this is the way it exists, and you want to move it farther.
Yes,
And then I know that when we granted one of the requests here previously, we didn't have a second deck on the house. There was a header board up there with a sliding window, but there was
Yeah.
no deck up there. And what's our regulations on that type of a deck?
It would have to be built to code, or as far as requirements like that would be allowed. It does not stick out farther than the existing main level deck, so it would be not any closer to the lake than the actual steps. So
I just want to make sure everything's in code. I know you didn't know you had to have a permit for all these things, and that's understandable nowadays, but at the same time, I want to make sure that others don't come in and say, I built it and now give me this. I'm sorry, I didn't know any better, and grant me, and I can't tear it down. So I look at it very cautiously in that regard. Obviously, I can't support it if we don't move the deck back like we did your neighbors. out
Okay.
in the front, overhanging the firewall, or the wall. Just has to be that way for liability. And I guess those are my main concerns.
I do have a letter from the Whitmires concerning the stairway and how they support it, if that's a
Yeah, you
benefit.
said that, yeah.
I just seen that in that tree. Yeah, it curves back in here, but I just didn't know how, with that tree stump there, how that lined up. You know, if it come back out to here. Yeah. There's just 2 blocks on that curve? On your,
2
on
blocks
your,
high?
on your retaining wall?
Yes,
Is there just 2 blocks that start curving back in towards your property?
under the deck?
Yeah,
Yes.
under the deck,
Yes.
just 2.
So it's actually the last one that has the tight curve on it.
Pretty much Shoreline matches up with the existing one to the north, from what we can see from here. So.
I think the best thing to do is gonna be try to figure out how to curve that, which
I got a question. So the stairwell coming down
Yeah.
from your top level is the left edge as we look at in the picture, which is that exactly at the property line?
It's just shortly to
Okay.
the
So-
right.
So where the grill is on the deck,
Yeah.
was there a reason why the deck steps wasn't slid over so you had that separation from the property line?
Well, as we discussed with the Whitmires, which live next door, they didn't want the maintenance issue, and definitely I don't want the maintenance issue. We thought it would be the best deal would be just to move it over. We can rip wrap it, cover it all up, and it would just be better for us.
Just to understand the variance then request is for the placement of the steps, right?
It's the whole deck,
The
the
whole
steps,
deck.
the whole 9 yards,
Everything. 'Cause
everything. We can't-
Obviously, we know we've turned down people and we've made them rebuild decks that hang over the edge. That's just a safety issue. But
we can amend pieces in the findings of fact though, right?
Correct.
okay.
I've got them all separated out. There's a section for the portion of the deck on the lake shore. There's the deck and the stairs on the house. From that setback from the high water mark and from the stairs from the side property line, which is approximately 6 inches.
Didn't we have a case back where we denied somebody the deck over to the property line? They had to have that separation. I'm trying to go from memory.
That depends. Each variance is on a case by case
Yeah.
basis.
Okay.
So does this variance also include the second story deck as well?
It's
That-
included in there, even though it's not. It only sticks out 6 feet.
Yeah.
So yes, it does allow them to build that second story deck. It's already there.
And this,
But it-
this
it-
deck and the separation's already there too, all the way to the stairway, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
That deck, between that gap where the grill is, you've already built the deck there. It already goes to the stairway.
No, there's just a temporary walkway there to get to the stairs. You're talking about the gap between the stairs and
Right, that's the deck you want to extend
That-
over to the stairway, right?
yeah, that's the one I want to remove
Okay, you're gonna remove it and then build it over to the. you want
to
to
the
build
steps
it
all the way to the other side of my house.
And so the new second story deck, you extended that towards the southeast as well, an extra, was it 3 or 6 foot?
3 feet.
3
Yes,
feet?
just because if you can see there where the beam is at, it sits on a
Oh,
4 by
right
6
there.
beam.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have left it over, but then you have an exposed beam there, which would then open it up to moisture and rot.
Luke, do you have any opinions on this?
Sure. This is Luke Muller with First District Association of Governments. I'll leave the ultimate decision, of course, up to you guys. The main thing that I guess I haven't heard pointed out, because I don't recall from the report, is just how far from the nearest structure on the neighbor's property this stairwell would be, just from a standpoint of fire jumping. Typically we have 10 feet in between those things if there's not a firewall. And then the only other point I was going to make is that someone did mention you did have a history of denying. There was one applicant, you denied them twice on going closer to a property line on a similar situation. However, like Richard said, that's a case-by-case thing.
So fire code is 10 feet away from another structure.
For any structure, this is an open structure. By structure, I mean if it had been a storage shed or a garage where they've been 3 feet or 5 feet, we do make them line that garage with a firewall on the inside. But being this is an open structure, it would take, never say never, but it would take considerable more for that to start up the steps and go towards the house than a big structure fire once that would get going. But that's, so.
Mr. Chairman, although if I would check with my insurance agent to make sure they're all right, stairs being that close to the neighbor's house. And that
Duly
came from Luke
noted.
Mueller also.
Well, I don't know if there's board members with additional comments, but my opinion is we should move to the findings of facts so that we can attack how we want this to read piece by piece. Was that a fair way to do it? So we're not talking about the deck, then the stairs, then the upper deck. And so Richard, would you read the findings of facts and we'll amend them as we go?
I'll read the first one in its entirely, then the other variances, I'll just read the highlighted areas. Brookings County Zoning Variance 2022 VAR 005. Application for a variance having to file with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as the Brookings County Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Bradley Bosted regarding the following real property. Lot 26 of DeBoers Lake Titakaha, West Subdivision, and Government Lots 4 and 5, in the southeast 1/4 of Section 7, Township 111 North, Range 51 West, Oakwood Township, located at 43 Oakwood Shoreline Drive, Bruce, South Dakota 57220. After due notice, a public hearing having been held on the application on this 5th day of April 2022. Number 1, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment hereby finding that the strict application of the Brookings County zoning ordinance would produce undue hardship, that such hardship was not shared generally by other properties in the same zoning district in the same vicinity, and that authorization of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property, and the character of the district will not be changed by the granting of the variance. And that granting of such variance is based upon reasons of demonstrable and exceptional hardship as distinguished from variations for the purpose of convenience, profit, and caprice. Number 2, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finding that the condition or situation of the property concerned or the intended use of the property is not so generally or recurring in nature as to make reasonable, practicable the formulation of a general regulation to be adopted as an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Number 3, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further find that the written application of the petitioner demonstrates that special conditions and circumstances exist that are peculiar to the land, structure, or buildings in the same district. That literal interpretations of the provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of the ordinance. That the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant, and that the granting of the variance requested will not confer on any applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Number 4, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finding that the reasons set forth in the application justify the granting of the variance, that the variance is a minimal variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structures, that the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and the intent of the Brookings County zoning ordinance, will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Number 5, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further determines and conditions this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. A, shape and the size of the lot. B, lake locks and cabins have existed on Lake Titankaha, otherwise known as Lake Oakwood, since the 1930s and 40s, prior to the zoning requirements. DeBoer's Lake Titankaha and Webb subdivision was originally platted in 1984 and replatted in June of 2003 when the original road was vacated and relocated. The cabin was built in the 1930s. A portion of the property is located in the floodplain and will need to be built to the Brookings County Floodplain Ordinance standards. E. Brookings County Development Office notified the applicant by letter on January 25, 2022 that they needed to apply for an after-the-fact variance. We could add in here that the adjoining landowner has no objections to the side setback request. Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petition a variance for the above described row property. This is where I have them segmented out onto each one. A, an already built lakeside 18-foot by 42-foot deck to have a 0 setback from the high water mark, and that no portion of the deck shall extend beyond the edge of the retaining wall into the shoreline, and that the deck shall be resting at grade. May be subject to South Dakota Codified Law 4317-2 regulations enforced by the South Dakota Department of Game, Fish, and Parks. And previously on the other one, in the same situation, we did not have a deadline or removal date. Do you want a removal date on this? I went 6 months from today, which would make it October 5th, 2022. Is that sufficient time, Mr. Busted?
Well, anything that I take off there would add to my deck that I'm building up above, so if that's approved, then I would take that material.
Right, yeah, that would be. Okay, B, the south side yard setback, which is the property line for the stairway, 6 inches from the south property line for the deck staircase for an attached deck. And he's going to rebuild the existing 16 by 16 deck with a 16-foot wide, 38-foot long, which is the length of the house, with a deck screened-in porch combination, with the staircase on the lower level being 23 feet from the highest known water mark. And a 6-foot wide by 22-foot long upper deck would also be constructed above the 16-foot wide by 38-foot deck structure. D, a Brookings County floodplain development permit is required and follow the Brookings County floodplain ordinance for building in the floodplain. And E, building permit with plans required and an after-the-fact building permit fees will apply. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all of the conditions and safeguards in 5 above and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. This variance is not used within the 3 years of the date granted. It shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
Okay, now if you go back up to the specific conditions, go to the 0 setback one, the staircase. Does anybody have a problem with the 6-inch setback if we have him put a metal or non-burnable railing on the neighboring side? So that the fire can't go up that, it'd just be limited to the ground?
Even if you have something there that's metal that doesn't burn, the heat will go right through it and start it on fire anyway.
It would, and then it would more likely start at the bottom, go up, and not start at the top and go down.
This is true.
And with that deck 6 inches from the neighbors, I understand the neighbors say it's fine, but there's a pretty good chance they're not gonna own it forever and somebody else is gonna move in there. I don't know what happens if they have a problem with it, if we already okayed it, but it could make things contentious with the neighbor.
But theirs is built the same way, coming my way.
When was theirs built?
I was built before I bought my cabin.
I think it was grandfathered into the ordinance.
And also, they can't go back on, for the future buyers, can't go back and contradict anything that's already there. Once this has been granted, it's granted and approved from this day forward.
Just as reference, you've got 6 inches, which isn't a lot to do maintenance with if you're standing on, basically you're standing on your neighbor's property. So the issue is setback. It's got multiple reasons. I'm surprised that 6 inches, to me, it seemed like if you make it at least 18 inches, you got a place you can stand to do maintenance.
But the whole idea there is that you're standing at a slope like this here to stand and do maintenance.
You got to do maintenance sometime on your decks. It's going to happen. They always do. What I don't understand is why did you build a step there without coming to talk to the county about getting a permit? That's what I haven't figured out yet.
Okay, so if you read the application for building permits on the website, it makes no mention of decks.
No.
And I went through it several times and reread it, and it does not specifically say you have to have a permit for a deck.
Is that true?
It is considered a structure, and anything that is attached to the house is part of the house. It might not be. I'd have to go back and look at it,
The
but
deck would be considered part of the house because it's attached to the house.
correct.
So if the stairs were freestanding, then it wouldn't matter. Is that right?
It would still have to be within that setback area. Anything over 120 square feet requires a building permit.
I just can't accept this item B the way it's worded. My only case is sliding where that grill was at. The picture of the grill, there's a big gap in there. To me, it seemed like just slide the steps over, and that's where the grill would. You wouldn't have the grill there, and then you'd have a distance you could work and maintain it. But I know I had a neighbor in town when I lived here, and we tore a deck off the house, and he was glad because he was upset because every time they maintained it, they stepped on his property, and he was pretty upset. Now, this neighbor may not care, but the next one would. That's all. That's my only issue. This building permit thing is still kind of a interesting thing. So,
Do you have a suggestion on what you would be happy with?
well, that's why I said 18 inches. If you're going to stand and do maintenance, 18 inches is enough space for you to stand
Okay, so
and do maintenance.
So when the property was, we had a lease on a piece of property there. And when they replatted it, without our knowledge, without changing our leases, they moved the lot line 1 foot closer to me.
The lot
Used
line,
to be 18 inches, and now it's because of where it's at. I mean, it moved. We didn't have any control over that.
so
That was done by the county and their developing people.
So when it moved 18 inches, in essence, it was under your neighbor's deck.
Well, I didn't have stairs then, but the lot line actually did move.
So it moved from.
It moved my cabin into under the 8-foot setback that's required, because the lot line,
So in essence, the lot line was on your property, further on your property, or further on your neighbor's property.
the lot line actually, they applied and received a 6-foot setback for their house. And now there's 14 feet between our houses, and my lot line is now 7 feet.
Okay, but the lot line where the deck is at today,
Where the stairs are at, yes.
where the stairs are at today, the stairs for the deck, did that shift away from your house, or did it shift away to your neighbor's house?
It shifted towards my house.
So it shifted, so your neighbor, where the lot line is today, was actually the neighbor's deck was encroaching on your property. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right, and when they replatted it, they moved the side lot lines. He had no control over that. At that time, the Whitmires, the neighbor to the south, applied for a variance at that time in 1995 to build their house 6 feet.
And that's 1995 is when they replatted it?
2004 is when they replatted it. So the Whitmires gained a foot, he lost a foot.
And the Whitmires built, are they then a foot off that
No.
lot line?
No, they would have been right on it.
Oh, they were right on
And
the
not
lot.
right now, they're a foot off it.
They're foot off. Well, my only concern is the maintenance. When you maintain a
Well, he
deck,
can
'cause you
reach
gotta-
over the side of the deck, he can do it, and
Yeah.
or he can ask the neighbor to do that. I mean, he's already built the deck and evidently been on there already, so.
You knew where the lot line was when you built your stairway?
Yes. With his guidance, I mean, the pin is at the bottom of the landing platform before it turns and goes left. The pin is right there, and then you have to guess because it goes up 17 feet, and the next pin is 75 feet down, or 70 feet down.
I'd be a lot happier if it was 18 inches over.
It's just a really slippery slope that we sit on right now.
So do I out lake.
I get it.
It's difficult, and when
Yeah.
our lots are only 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was 50 foot wide when you bought it.
But it was developed into a substandard lot when it was developed,
Yeah.
and we didn't have control over that.
Yep.
Well, do you want to leave it at 6 and see what happens on the vote, or do you want to change it to move it into 18? That's up to you.
I guess I'll
You-
move it to the 18,
You want to move it into 18?
but I'm gonna have to have some time because I have to take and disassemble the whole thing. Everything's set in cement.
Right, he has his post in cement. I mean, that's something you need to take into consideration also. It's all or none as of right now.
It's not as simple as just
Sliding it over.
sliding
No,
it
we're having
over a foot.
somebody come over with a loader and lift it up and slide it over. It's cemented in.
And keep in mind, each variance is on a case-by-case basis. Because we deny it or grant it for somebody else does not mean we need to deny it or grant it for another person. Each situation is different because they're not all the same.
When they did this replat, was that when they got rid of the lease and they sold the land? Is that when they did
You
that?
had the option to purchase your land or keep the lease.
Okay, and then they replatted it, someone replatted it,
Yes,
and then all of that basically screwed up the lot lines for everybody because of the
Yes.
houses were placed.
that's correct.
And there's no control over that, so I can see that there'd be a hardship in this.
Okay, so we're gonna leave B where it's at. Let's run back up to A. Is everybody all right with how that is worded?
Can I ask if we move that removal time, give me 12 months? Just in case something.
This is only for the deck extension that's sitting over the water. That's
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
thing for the
yeah,
6 months
yeah.
is.
Yeah,
The rest of it, you have until 18 months for your building permit. But the 6 month is for shortening the deck that goes on your retaining wall that's sticking over the water.
sure. Because a lot of this is driven by cost of materials to build.
Right, yeah, this wouldn't require, you would just have to, cut it off and put in you don't have to rebuild your whole deck. Cut it off
Yeah.
and rebuild the end where it's sitting on the retaining wall.
Yep. Okay, so everybody is happy the way that A is worded. We're gonna roll with the way B is worded for now. C. He's just gonna attach that to the stairway then.
Right. It's our portion of it is already built attached to the stairway.
So that's basically rebuilding new. No problems with C? Moving on to D. Floodplain ordinance. That's required. Yep. And then E, building permit would, after the fact the fees work. So is everybody happy with the findings of facts? It's your right to vote how you choose.
I concur with your finding of facts.
Being that said, Richard, would you call a vote?
Dietrich,
No.
Kleinjohn,
No.
Vanderwall.
No.
Troyan,
No.
Jensen,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Yes.
Erickson, and Ford.
Yes.
Motion fails. 5-4, 4 against. That means the whole structures need to be removed, or he can reply again in 6 months.
Can I ask a question? You said that this vote would be on a per section basis, so if A, B, C, or D could be approved.
Well, that was in the findings on there. It was all or none on this particular.
When you explained it to me, you said that if we did it in 4 parts, which I did, that you could vote on part A, B, C, and D and approve or disapprove. Now, that has changed in this meeting?
No, that's how it always was on there.
Then there's a misunderstanding between you and I, Richard.
In order for it to be voted on in 4 parts, it would have had to come up as 4 different variances.
That's why I listed out each variance, 1, 2, 3, 4, in your findings.
And that's where they were separated out in the findings for each section on there.
Luke, do you have any input for this?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one thing you could do, you have held the vote. If someone wanted to split the vote, as in split the vote into 4 components of it, specifically it would have to be someone on the prevailing side, which was the 4 votes, would have to first make a motion to reconsider, and then that would take 2/3, actually that would take a simple majority to go ahead and reconsider it. Then the very next vote would have to be to split it into individual components, and you could do it that way if you did those 2 steps and split it individually. But someone's got to point out which part they have a problem with, or if it's all of it, whichever parts they're willing to say yes to versus no. So again, step 1, motion to reconsider, act on that. Step 2, either a motion to split the vote or just flat out to cut it out in the findings, the part that they don't like.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to reconsider the last vote. Split it out into 4 votes.
Motion by, doesn't it need to be somebody that was in favor of it?
No, it needs
Okay.
to be somebody on the
On
prevailing
the opposed side? Okay, motion by Diedrich, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kleinjohn, all in favor? So,
Anybody can make the motion to split this. I'll make a motion that we split this into 4 separate requests, each to be handled
on an
separate.
individual vote.
on a vote separately.
Okay,
Second.
so then simple majority vote on that one. Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will now reconvene this as individual things.
Letter A first,
Yep.
which
letter.
would be the deck on the lake shore.
I'll make a motion to accept letter A as it's written.
Second.
Motion by Bartley, second by Diedrich. Any discussion?
We just have to do a roll call, 2/3.
Roll call or?
Yes.
Okay.
Richard, would you?
Be a separate majority of yeah.
What's that?
Be a separate
Majority vote
majority
for
of
this,
What is
Okay.
roll call or voice vote?
just voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Now we can do a vote.
Part A, what?
Now you can do a vote on letter A.
Okay. Now we'll do a voice vote on letter A. Richard, call roll.
Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson, and Ford.
Aye.
Okay, letter A passes. So you need to remove the extension going off the shoreline.
Is there a motion on letter B?
I move for letter B.
Motion by Gatsky,
Second.
second by Jensen. All those in favor?
Should ask for discussion.
Is there any discussion?
Do you want to leave it at the 6 inches or as it is,
That was the issue that I had the problem with.
or leave it at 18? Or move it to 18, whatever you want to.
That's up to him whether.
You can amend it how you want, and
If he wants to move it to 18, or if he wants us to vote on it now, and then he has to come back and apply in 6 months if it fails.
That's right.
Problem is, if it fails, it needs to be removed.
yep. Do you want to leave it
So
at
it's up
6,
to
or do you
you
want to
if you
move it
wanna
to
leave-
18?
I'll move it to 18, that's fine.
Okay, so
Make an amendment to.
You need to make amendment to the motion then.
Okay.
Just gonna amend the motion to
Make
18
the
inches.
amendment that it's 18 inches instead of 6 inches.
Second.
motion by Kleinjohn, second by Bartley to amend the motion to move it from 6 inches to 18 inches. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All in favor of amending the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Now we'll voice vote or majority vote? Now we'll do a roll call vote on the motion as amended. Richard, would you call roll?
It'll be for the side yard setback being 18 inches from the south property line. Erickson,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
and Bartley,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Is there a motion on agenda item C?
So moved.
Motion by Kleinjohn,
Second.
second by Diedrich. Is there any discussion? Everybody's good with C as it stands? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Richard, would you call roll vote?
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye. Do we need to do D and E? We don't need to do D and E on that because they're
That's a standard.
That's
the
a standard.
That's standard.
standard protocol.
So I have a question on number 5, or D. Is that as it's outlined in the zoning ordinance?
Yes, it's under the floodplain administration section of that. Being part of your property is in the red, you need to get the elevations done, determined by a surveyor and engineer, determine what the high water mark is, determine up there to apply with the FEMA standards on there.
And that only pertains to the deck down below, because everything else would be above?
That's what the surveyor will determine what the base flood is, and he'll take survey elevations of around your property, so yes.
Okay.
The neighbors had to do the same thing for theirs. So it's consistent throughout. Anybody that's in the floodplain on the lake has to go through the same process.
So then, we're done with this one now. Everything changed, everything passed as long as we changed it basically from the 6 to 18 and we're good to go then, right?
Luke, do we need to vote on the findings of facts again as amended? The whole document?
You might as well hold one voice vote just to cover all of those documents and tie them back together.
Just one voice vote, so just Richard call roll on this?
Yep.
All right, Richard, would you call roll on the whole thing?
This will be a call the roll and going over the complete findings of facts as amended. Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Aye.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson, Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Motion passes. Complete findings of facts as amended. Yep.
Moving on, agenda item 2022 variance 007. Stephen Knudsen has made an application 2022 variance 007 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for variance Article 19, Section 19.01, shelter belt setback requirements. The property is described as the west 1,549 feet of the south 650 feet of the southwest 1/4 of Section 5, Township 112 North, Range 49W, Argo Township, located at 47318 197th Street, Toronto, South Dakota 57268. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich.
Second.
Second by Gatsky. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yep. Let me get caught up here and we'll All right, 2022 variance 007, Steve Knudsen has applied for a variance to plant a shelter belt parallel with the road, 60 feet, 3 feet from the center of 473rd Avenue. The variance is 70 feet. The required setback for a shelter belt parallel with the road is 133 feet from the center of the road. He would like to plant four new four-row shelter belt closer to the minimum maintenance road and perpendicular to 197th Street, which is Brookings County Gravel Road number 40. By allowing the trees to be closer to the road, it will keep them out of an area that is wetter, lower ground. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Argo Township Chairman and Clerk, and public notices were published in the Brookings Register on March 22nd and 29th, 2022, and in the White Tri-City Star on March 24th and 31st, 2022. There's his variance application. The site plan, 197th and 473rd. He initially applied for 673 and he called back and changed it to 63, which we have that noted earlier. This is a beacon map of the area. It'd be 63 feet from the center of 473rd Avenue. This is just looking north on the minimum maintenance road at the intersection there. This would be 50 feet from the right-of-way from 197th Street, which is the setback for perpendicular shelter belts planted to a road. This is looking north along 473rd. The wheel is at 63 feet. What the applicant is asking for, just kind of note the trees right there where it lines up. And this last picture is 133 feet from the center of the road, way over here on this. And this is the area lower ground right here that would not be conducive through planting of trees. And the applicant is here this evening, and that's all that I have.
Thank you, Richard. Would the applicant step forward, sit down, and clearly state your name for questions from the board?
Stephen Knudsen.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report so far?
No.
Is there any questions from members of the board at this point? Seeing none, I'll now open the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this?
This is a letter we received from Argo Township. It's dated March 25th, 2022, to Brookings County Zoning in regards to the variance from Steve Knudsen on a shelter belt that he wants to plant trees closer to the right-of-way along the Argo Township. Supervisor met the meeting March 21st and said they had no problem with the trees closer to the right-of-way. The trees are going to be along the north-south road and on the east side, so the snow is no issue. along that side of the road and also is a minimum maintenance road. Mike Olson, Argo Township Clerk.
Is there anybody else in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing. Is there any additional comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of the facts?
I'll just read the highlighted areas. Brookings County Zoning Variance 2022, Variance 007. Applicant being made by Steve Knutson, but regarding the following real property: the west 1,549 feet of the south 650 feet of the southwest 1/4 of Section 5, Township 112 North, Range 49 West, Argo Township, located at 47318 197th Street, Toronto, South Dakota. Public hearing having been held on this 5th day of April 2022. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Argo Township officials have no objections to the variance request. Land to the east is lower ground, not suitable for tree growth. The Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a variance for the above described real property as follows: plat of shelter belt parallel with the road 63 feet from the center of 473rd Avenue, a variance of 70 feet. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the conditions and safeguards in 5 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. If this variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
Any additions or corrections to the findings of facts?
I concur with findings of facts.
Thank you, Mr. Diedrich. Richard, would you call the vote?
Troyan,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson, Bartley, Gatsky,
Yes.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item 2022 variant 008, Sylvia L. Walters has made an application 2022 variant 008 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for a variance, Article 4 District Requirements, Chapter 4.03 LP Lake Park District, Section 4.03.03 Density Area and Yard Regulation Minimum Lakefront. The property is described as Lot 4 of Point Clara Addition and Government Lots, Lot 3 of Section 22, Township 112 North, Range 47W, Lake Hendricks Township, located at 723 South Lake Hendricks Drive, Hendricks, Minnesota 56136. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich.
Second.
Do I have the second? Second by Gatsky. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yeah. Variance 2022, Variance 008, Sylvia L. Walters had applied for Lakeside Variance to replace an existing deck in the same location and add a 3-season room 66 feet 6 inches from the highest known watermark in Lake Hendricks, a variance of 8 feet 5 inches. The required setback is 75 feet from the highest known watermark. The applicant will need to complete a floodplain development permit to meet the FEMA Federal Emergency Management Agency floodplain standards for building in the floodplain, as a portion of the lot is in the floodplain. The applicant will meet the 25-foot front yard setback and 8-foot side yard setback. Things to consider are the shape and the size of the lot. Point Clara subdivision was platted on April 2nd, 1976. Prior to the current zoning ordinance requirements in the Brookings County Zoning Comprehensive Plan, future land use for developed lakes is likely to have extended developed areas on Lake Campbell, Hendricks, and Lake Titankaha, and Lake Ponset will experience continued development in varying degrees. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Lake Hendricks Township Chairman and Clerk, and the Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on March 22nd and 29th, 2022, and the White Tri-City Star on March 24th and 31st, 2022. There is the variance application. There's the site plan. This is the existing deck, comes around the house. This part right here, this west part, is the part that will be where the screened-in porch 3-season room will be added. This comes down to the edge of the deck with the steps right here, and from here to out to the steps, 66.5 feet. This is just a hand-drawn site plan. The elevations from the lumberyard showing the completed project. And it is 66.5 feet to the bottom of the steps. On there, I measured that when I was out there that day. So, shows the beacon map. The red area is a floodplain, which kicks in that floodplain development permit. Just looking from the south, looking towards the north, towards the lake. This is looking towards the west, northwest on there. The existing deck that would be rebuilt. Here's the edge of the stairs. That is at 66 feet on there. The wheel is kind of sideways, so it's kind of hard to see. This is looking west. This is looking back towards the east. Will not stick out any farther and obstruct the view up or down the lakeside. And this is looking from the north at the lakeside, down on the ice, looking back up towards the house. You can see there's quite a elevation difference there. So, and I believe the applicant is here this evening, and that's all that I have.
Thank you, Richard. Would the applicant please step forward, have a seat, and clearly state your name into the mic?
Good evening, gentlemen. Sylvia Walters.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report at all, or is it pretty well summed up?
Pretty well summed up. I'm welcome to answer any questions that you have.
Is there any questions from members of the board? Seeing none at this time, I'll move to the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I'll now close the public portion of the hearing. Move back to the board. Is there any comments or questions from the members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of the facts?
Yes, Brookings County Zoning Variance 22008, application being made by Sylvia L. Walters regarding the following real property. Lot 4 of Point Clara Addition and Government Lot 3 of Section 22, Township 112 North, Range 47 West, Lake Hendricks Township. Located at 723 South Lake Hendricks Drive, Hendricks, Minnesota, 56136. After due notice, a public hearing having been held on the application on this 5th day of April, 2022. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5, the Brookings County Board of Adjustment further finds and determines the conditions of this variance upon the following special conditions or safeguards. A, shape and size of the lot. B, Point Clara subdivision was platted on April 2nd, 1976. A portion of the property is located in the floodplain and needs to be built to the Brookings County Floodplain Ordinance standards. Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a variance for the above described real property as follows. A, rebuild an existing deck in the same location with the deck area west of the stairs that was previously open will now be a 3-season room. The support post for the steps will be 66 feet 5 inches, or 6 inches, from the highest known watermark, a variance of 88 feet 6 inches. B, the Brookings County Floodplain Development Permit required and follow the Brookings County Floodplain Ordinance for building in the floodplain. This variance is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the conditions in 5 above and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County Zoning Ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County Zoning Director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the terms of this variance. This variance is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
Is there any additions to findings of facts?
I would concur with the findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Bartley. Would you, call vote, Richard?
Jensen,
Yes.
Erickson, Bartley,
Aye.
Gatsky,
Yes.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
Yes.
Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 2022 CU 0016. Lester Van Dyke has made an application 2022 CU 006 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for conditional use for a gravel mining operation, Article 11, Section 11.01, A Agricultural District, conditional use number 4, sand, gravel, or quarry operation, mineral exploration, and extraction. The property is described as the northwest 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49W, Aurora Township, and the west 631.2 feet of the northeast 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49W, Aurora Township. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich.
Second.
Second by Vanderwall. Richard, would you read the staff report?
We're on Lester's, right? Number 6. Okay. 2022 CU 006, Lester Van Dyke has applied for Brookings County zoning ordinance, Article 11 Agricultural District, Section 1101A Agricultural District, conditional use number 4, sand, gravel, or quarry operation, mineral exploration. Proposed mining operation will be a 10-acre site located in the northwest 1/4 and the west 631.2 feet of the northeast 1/4 in Section 1 of Aurora Township. The property is not in the floodplain, but it is in the Zone B of the Aquifer materials. Test holes were dug with gravel present to a depth of 25 feet. Black dirt would be removed and stockpiled to be put back on after the mining is complete as part of the reclamation plan. A berm would be constructed along the road, and the mining area would exit gates would be padlocked after hours, and the hours of operation between 6:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Weed and dust control would be applied as needed, and proposed mining would be for 10 years. When the mining is complete, the black dirt would be put back and the ground would be farmed. The applicant will use a mining contractor to mine the gravel. The applicant will need to apply for a mining permit from the South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources. An entrance and exit to the mining area will be off 208th Street, which is an Aurora Township minimum maintenance road that intersects with 478th Avenue. 478th Avenue is also known as Brookings County Blacktop Road number 25. And the applicant has been in contact with the township regarding a road agreement. The applicant has also applied for conditional use 2022 CU 007 for a rock crushing permit to process the mined gravel, and this will be heard this evening also. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Aurora Township Chairman and Clerk, and the Brookings County Highway Department. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on March 22nd and 29th, 2022, and the White Tri-City Star on March 24th and 31st, 2022. Here's the applicant's conditional use request application. Here's his site map showing his 10 acres there. On the map, here's his drawn out map on there. This is business plan showing his hours of operation, his reclamation plan, how long it'll be, his hours of operation, reclamation, put the stockpile of the dirt, gates padlocked, weed control, dust control, trucking signs on the highway. There'll be a berm along the township road. The mining area would be fenced in. Test holes, 1.5 foot of black dirt, the rest is 25 foot of gravel. This is the northwest quarter of that. Section 1, be in this part of this quarter right here. This is a 631 feet, 0.2 feet of the northeast quarter, right there. A portion would be over in here. This is looking south from the intersection of 478th Avenue, which is also known as Brookings County Blacktop Road, number 25. I'm looking towards the south, clear vision to the south for a ways there. This is looking down from the intersection of 478, looking west down 208th Street, which is a minimum maintenance road on there. This is looking to the north of 478th on, or excuse me, looking to the north on 478th from the intersection of 208th Street. This is looking from 208th Street towards the south on there, towards his test holes that he had dug with the gravel piles. There, those test piles. This is looking from the driveway looking to the east, which would be back towards 478th Avenue. Minimum maintenance road, pretty good track down there. Not too bad a shape for being minimum maintenance road when I drove down there. This would be looking towards the southeast of the driveway, where the test hole of the gravel was dug. This would be looking off towards the southwest there. There's two gravel piles. And this is looking from the driveway looking to the west along 208th Street there. And the applicant is here this evening, and that's all. We do have a letter from the county when the public hearing opens. I'll read that when that time comes.
Thank you, Richard. Would the applicant please step forward and have a seat and clearly state your name?
Yeah, Lester Van Dyke.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report?
Nope.
At this time, is there any questions from members of the board? Okay, why don't you go back and have a seat for a minute? I'm going to open a public portion of the hearing. Opening the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience or on the phone that is for this? Please realize that your time is limited to 5 minutes per person.
I'll read the comments received from the highway superintendent. April 5th, 2022, Brian Gutstead, Brookings County Highway Superintendent, contacted the Development Office and has no objections to the conditional use 2022 CU 006 for gravel mining by Lester Van Dyke. The cost of any additional signage on the county road, the applicant would be responsible for. Richard Haugen, Brookings County Development Deputy Director.
Is there anybody else in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Clearly speak your name into the mic, please.
My name is Mary. I am talking today not about the fact of opening a gravel pit. I'm not concerned about that. What I am concerned about is the proposed entrance and exit that exists right now. Mr. Van Dyke, for what's going on right now. So, Richard, could you possibly put it back up so we can see the pictures? So if Mr. Van Dyke builds the road up to standards, right now it's a dirt path to the east of his pit to County Highway 25, which is that Bushnell White Road, which is 478th Avenue. The visibility is extremely poor to traffic coming from the north. So if you pull down just a little bit to the looking north along 478th, that picture in particular, where you see that car there, that is where you can see a car. Before that, you can't see anything coming. So coming in and out of that pit, first off, if you're coming and turning in front to go north, a car potentially could stop. But we have semis, we have gravel semis coming, that'll be coming from Tom Davis's pit that will be loaded. We also have Dubrook and Brookings area school buses that go through this, past this corner several times each day. So this is a major hazard if trucks are pulling out in front. The other component is if you look on the pictures that I just provided you, if you're coming from the south headed north on 478th Avenue, The first picture is about a half a mile prior to the proposed entrance. It looks pretty flat, but what happens is it starts to gradually increase or incline at that point. The second picture is a few hundred feet prior to the proposed entrance to the pit. As you can tell, it's starting to gradually increase. It still looks flat from the picture, but there is an increase where you cannot see at all what's coming. The third picture, we're, I would say, probably about 100 feet from the proposed pit entrance at this point. There is no way you can see what's coming from the north. And as you can see, there is a no passing zone there as well. There's a reason why there's a no passing zone there. It's because you can't see what's coming from the north. The last picture is right where the pit entrance would be. You cannot see what's coming from the north. And there, like again, I just want to reiterate, there's a no passing zone there. And there's a purpose why there's a no passing zone there. I know I've come across coming from the south towards that entrance, and all of a sudden it's there. If you're not ready for it. And that's a major concern that I have, not only for everybody who's on the roads, but my children drive those roads every day to get to school, and my other two younger children ride the bus. And that bus is on that road as well every single day. The other option, just so you're aware that that is a visibility issue there. If Mr. Van Dyke decides not to go east, there is a road that runs adjacent or alongside his land that goes south. That is also that would be 477th Avenue. It is a minimum maintenance road. However, that road is even worse because once you get to the Gravel County Road on the south end of that road, the hill, there is a hill just to the west of it. There is absolutely no way you'd be able to see anything coming. We move our cattle down that road, and we purposely have someone go ahead about 10 minutes before our cattle even get there to make sure that no one is coming, because if our cattle are coming up and someone comes over that hill, there is no way no one's going to stop there either. There's a point why these roads, granted they're minimum maintenance, there's no one living on there, but there's also a point to why there's a no passing lane on 478th Avenue in regards to why no one has used those corners for many years. These roads haven't been used for over 30 years plus unless they're landowners getting into their land. And I can see it's a primary safety entering onto either that major roadway or that highway or county road. Again, I'm not concerned about the pit. I'm not concerned about the mining or the crushing. What I'm really concerned about is getting in and out of that pit. You're going to have large gravel trucks that are very, very heavy. You might have pups who are going to be extremely long coming out of those gravel pits or entering into that gravel pit as well, that entrance.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. You're going to have buses of children. You're going to have other semis coming that are not going to be able to stop in time. And either they're going to be ending up in the ditch, they're going to be rolling, or something tragic is going to happen to someone when they hit. It's going to be pretty catastrophic. And so I just ask that you either deny or postpone this application, both this one for the mining as well as the crushing, until a substantial change has been made in the application or the variance in regards to the safety of the entrance and exit, and that an adaptation of some sort has been made to make sure that there is no cause of concern for incoming or outcoming traffic going into that pit. Thank you.
Is there anybody else opposed to it?
Mary, do you have an extra copy of the handout you gave for the file? Thank you.
State your name, and you're limited to 5 minutes.
My name is Dale Bound. Our family owns land on the corner where they're going to exit out of the gravel pit. When you come from the south, you cannot see turning going west towards the gravel pit location is going to be. It's a very, very dangerous intersection. I invite any of you guys to go look at it and see what you think, because I'm sure you would agree with it. There's a tremendous amount of truck traffic coming from the north. You got Hendricks, you got Astoria, you got Toronto, you got Clear Lake. They're all coming down that road headed to that ethanol plant in Aurora. So there's tons of loaded trucks coming from the north, probably doing 50, 60 miles an hour, and you're waiting to turn across the road, and it's a blind intersection. For years, we farmed the land that Van Dyke owns now, and we made a point of not going north and going to that road to access that farm because it's so dangerous. And my neighbors agree with me. Mason Wheeler, who owned all that land years ago that we rented it from, he made a point to tell me how dangerous that corner was today when we talked. I had concerns if the road was open or closed, because it's just basically a dirt path going up there to that. There was a building site where Lester's wants to mine that gravel at one time, but prior to that, it is just a dirt path. And so I thought maybe the road was closed, and I called Mason to ask him about that. And he said, no, it's not. The townships on both sides never did any work with it because it's been no more than a path to go there. So my concern is it's dangerous. It's just a blind intersection. I live a mile south of that point, and I live on hill on both sides of me, and it's almost dangerous going out of there with a semi, because semis take off slow. They'll come from the north, they'll come from the south. We even had one of our semis in a ditch in the driveway on one of my places last year because my truck driver got scared of the oncoming traffic from the north because it was appeared so fast, so he turned in too short. We didn't hurt anything, but we had quite a while unloading the truck and moving it. But ain't much more I can say other than I'm just not comfortable with that access. Something needs to be done different to get in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that is opposed? Please clear to state your name, and you got 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Charlene Bound. I've lived on that road, 478th Avenue, County Highway 25 for 40-plus years. The traffic has increased. I'm not going to, and it's increased because it's a viable road to get to the ethanol plant, but it's also a road that people use from White to get to Brookings. It is used by the school districts in the area. And that road has hills and dales and everything like this in between it. And the exit point or entrance point for this gravel pit is a bad intersection. You cannot see coming over that hill. I've drove a truck many times on that and worried about whether when I came up to that point, coming back from White, bringing grain up there, if I'm going to hit somebody. Because you cannot see. And when you come from the north or come from the south and come up there, you're not going to see any of those cars coming that way. I just want you to look at that idea that this exit plan for the gravel pit is not good. It needs to have something different. I thank you for your time. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that is opposed to it? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing and move back to the board for comments and questions. Any comments or questions from members of the board?
What type of signage is the county required to put on for something like this, or is the township liable for putting gravel on the road, or what's the
There'd have to be
cost?
a road agreement with the applicant and the township.
And the township? Now, this is a shared township road. Does that mean the property's on the south side, so it's Aurora Township?
That would be up to, we'd have to get a hold of the townships to see who has what.
'Cause
Which part of
I
the
live
mine?
in one of those shared areas.
Right, yep, we'll have to check with the township to see whose
Back and forth.
jurisdiction is it in, and be up to that township to decide what they, if they want a road agreement, if they want to put it on there, if they want the applicant to do all the work for it, it would be up to the town, between the township and the applicant. And signage on the highway, it'd have to be trucks entering signs, probably the foldable sign. It'd be up, folded out, trucks entering when they're going in and out. When they're not, it would be folded down. They would have to be purchased from the Brookings County Highway Department, and and the applicant would be responsible for the cost of those, and they would be installed per DOT standards and distances in sight, things like that. So.
I think our highway superintendent would survey that and make sure those types of signs were in place. I've seen them in other places with these types of intersections. I can't tell by the pictures because it certainly looks like we have some visibility, and everybody has a different opinion of visibilities, but the sight lines don't look too bad in the pictures, but again, they are just pictures. But at the same time, I know that Brian doesn't have an objection simply because signage can handle let people aware, and maybe the signage should be up there now that dangerous intersection ahead. We'll have to talk to them about that, but I think that can be handled by signage.
I agree with you on the signage thing. There's a little bit of a hill there, but I think this is much better than the gravel pit we approved, was it about a year ago now? Where they entered out onto Highway 30, just up in the Big Valley, where they had to turn and go uphill into Minnesota. That's my opinion on it, I guess. Are there any other comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of the facts?
Yes, this one I'll read in its entirety, and then the rest of this evening we'll just read the highlighted areas. Zoning conditional use permit 2022 CU 006, an application for conditional use having been filed with the Brookings County Zoning Commission, acting as a Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Lester Van Dyke regarding the following real property. The northwest 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, and the west 631.2 feet of the northeast 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on this 5th day of April, 2022. Number 1, the Brookings County Zoning Commission hereby finding that it is empowered to grant such conditional use under the following sections of the Brookings County Zoning Ordinance. Article 11, Section 11.01A, Agricultural District, Conditional Use Permit Number 4, Gravel Mining. And further finding that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. Number 2, the Brookings County Zoning Commission further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing this conditional use requested have been complied with, none stated. Number 3, the Brookings County Zoning Commission further finds that satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made concerning the following were applicable. A, entrance and exit of the property and proposed structure therein with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow, control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe. Truck entrance and exit will be off 208th Street, an Aurora Township minimum maintenance road, to Brookings County Blacktop Road, number 25, which is also known as 478th Avenue. No other entrance or exit route is allowed to be used. B, off-street parking loading areas were required with particular attention to the items in A above and economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the special exception considering on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. No on-street parking, no parking of equipment or storage of fuel or oil in the mining area, separate parking lot and storage area for fuel, oil, and equipment with containment, to be 300 foot away from the mined or actively mining areas. C, utilities, refuge, service areas with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. This is kind of our standard. We have dumpster service required. Would you have much any out there for garbage or anything that you'd be getting rid of less out there, or would you take it to your own disposal? You can come up to the mic here if you want. Just a question on utilities and dumpster service. Would you have enough garbage out there to have a dumpster out there?
If we add that, we'd get one.
Okay. We can leave that in there for now. We'll leave it up to the board if they want to
Leave it in there, it's pretty standard practice.
practice.
Can I add any comments?
At the end here, just a minute. D, screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character. Maintain the outside perimeter berms as per the site plan with a 4-to-1 slope with the top of the berm being 10 foot in width, and a silt fence installed around the berms and or the perimeter of the mining area until grass is established to prevent erosion, and the perimeter of the mining area to be fenced in. E, signs of fitting proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with the properties in the district. 32 square foot of sign allowed and any required safety signs. F, required yards and other open spaces. Spraying of all noxious and other weeds before they go to seed. Monitor weed growth and weed control by spraying, mowing, or tilling by the permit holder or a designated professional sprayer service. Weed control is pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 38-22 and will be inspected 2 times a year for weed growth and weed control by the Brookings County Weed Supervisor. G, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties in the district. Comprehensive plan met for the agricultural district. H, roads providing access to the property are adequate to meet the transformation demands of the proposed conditional use. The Board of Adjustment may require the applicant to enter into a written contract with any affected township or other governmental unit regarding the upgrading or continued maintenance of any roads for the conditional use requested prior to the issues of a conditional use permit. Driver permit, if required, and road maintenance agreement with Aurora Township to be on file with the Brookings County Development Office. I, any required notifications to law enforcement or the fire department. Notification to Brookings County 911 and Brookings County Emergency Management of any hazardous materials or chemical spills. J, any safety inspections required. Any required safety inspections for state permits. Number 4, the Brookings County Zoning Commission further determines and conditions conditional use permit upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, setbacks. Mining setback to be 50 feet from property lines, 100 feet from any public right-of-way, 200 feet setback from any residence. B, follow Brookings County Ordinance Chapter 4.06 Aquifer Protection Performance Standards in Section 4.0606. Fuel containment, fuel storage with containment to be 300 foot away from mined or actively mined areas. D, dust control such as magnesium chloride or like products on the driveway, entrance, exit, loading areas as required. E, dust control with processing, crushing, and screening gravel. F, dust to dawn light at the scale house. G, hours of operation will be 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. H, entrance gate padlocked. I, folding truck entering highway signs to be installed on Brookings County Blacktop Road number 25, which is also 478th Avenue, north and south of the intersection of 208th Street. Signs to be ordered and installed through Brookings County Highway Department. Signs to be displayed when hauling gravel out of the pit. J, South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources mining permit required and on file with the Brookings County Development Office. K, reclamation plan, mined area to be leveled off and black dirt that was removed to be put back on the area and restored back to farm ground. I, conditional use is valid for 10 years, expires April 5th, 2032, or when the mineral resource, gravel, has been depleted. Brookings County Board of Adjustment released a majority vote of its membership hereby grants the above petitioner a conditional use permit for the above described property as follows. Conditional use number 4, mined gravel. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements in 3 and 4 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. If approved, the Brookings County zoning director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use. If this conditional use is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
Is there any additions to the findings of facts?
Mr. Chairman, I have one addition. We need to put in the findings of facts that the highway superintendent took a look at the site and put his approval on it. That he stated that the signs were required, that the signs would be paid, the statement that Mr. Hagen read to us.
Where are we at now? Under I?
Be under I.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch what you had said.
Yeah, you need to put down that the highway superintendent is the one that requested that the signs be installed.
Mr. Hill, if the highway superintendent had requested a flashing sign, would that have been added?
It would have been considered by this board.
Okay.
Lester, do you plan on hauling anything back into this pit?
Not at this time, no. Probably not. Basically, I wanted it more for my own use. I'm looking for some clay. And, I guess I've had a number of people contact me, like to use, or make a gravel. But I guess I haven't decided. I guess I'm more after, if I gotta take some gravel out, I'll use that for my own use and hopefully find clay. I'm looking for clay to fill in some spots on some other ground I got.
I know, haven't we listed in the findings of the facts on previous gravel pits that they're not allowed to haul anything back into the pit, or am I wrong there?
No, yes, we have, and each one's on a case-by-case basis, and also with the crushing permit side of it, we have not allowed any other materials to be hauled in and crushed on site. So if you want to add that no fill material to be hauled in, that's up.
I don't know if it needs that. I just wasn't sure if that was what we usually did or not.
I think the one that we did that had been a dumping ground before
Oh,
and
okay.
needed to be cleaned up.
Okay.
That was Jimmy's.
Hmm?
That was Jimmy's up there by Bruce.
Oh, that's right.
I got a question. It's regarding the flip sign. I understand what those are. With the truck vehicles coming from the north, if the county highway department feels it should be a flashing sign, is that like we have that stop sign in South Main at 34th Avenue or something?
That was the sheriff's department that
That was the
requested
sheriffs that
sign.
did that? Okay.
That's correct.
It would just that as long as they make the decision, the county or the safety people make the decision. I was just thinking just flashing when they're in use, not all the time.
Yeah, I'm not for certain on there if they're battery powered or solar powered. That could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
have no idea how they run.
It'd
but-
have to be solar powered if they did it, but I just don't know. I just presume the county highway department would see that. If it's a safety thing, I drive that road, but I guess I never really paid much attention because it's not really used, so.
What item I says, Mr. Chairman, it says that folding trucking entering signs to be installed on the Brookings County blacktop north and south of the intersection to be ordered and installed through the Brookings County Highway Department. Signs to be displayed when hauling gravel out of the pit. That's kind of a difficult one if you got to get up in the morning, put your signs up and fold them up and then fold them down at 6 o'clock. I want trucks entering to be permanent sign. And again, we're tying the hands of the highway superintendent here. It says Brookings County Highway Superintendent requested that truck entering be installed. That's not exactly what it says in his letter. His letter says basically the cost for any additional signage on the county road, the applicant would be responsible for. So I think how we need to rewrite this is something to the effect that any additional highway safety signs as required by the Brookings County Highway Superintendent of the state of South Dakota. I think it's going to be more the Brookings County Highway Superintendent noted that those costs would be, additional signage would be covered by the applicant. Doesn't say exactly what Brian's letter says, so I want it to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be trucks entering. It's safety signs of some sort, which truck entering obviously is one.
I would concur with what your statement was.
So that's a big one to change here.
Okay, tell me what you want.
Okay. Highway safety signs. Okay, then take out the folding truck entering. I'll let them determine which is the best type of sign.
Mm-hmm.
Take out highway signs to as may be required,
Okay, where do you want that at?
right there,
Right here?
by the Brookings County, or to be installed is fine, by the Brookings County Highway Superintendent. Okay, then I think the rest of it looks okay until we get down to, let's see, as may be required, as may be required, and responsibility applicant.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, somewhere we just, that's what he stated.
Okay, does that make sense?
I just would go after highway superintendent, where you got as may be required, and say, and responsibility of
You
the
could-
applicant.
You could just say a period right there at the superintendent.
Yeah.
And then you start a new sentence. And then you go to,
Okay, what'd you say, Brian?
okay, so a highway superintendent period, and then start a new sentence.
Okay.
The applicant or the applicant is responsible for the necessary costs. That's what he said?
Yep.
And then delete, yeah. Period. And then location as required on Brookings County. So as capital A. And then remove maybe. As required on Brookings County Blacktop Road number 2, 25 north and south of the intersection, signs to be ordered. And then you could say south of the intersection, 2/8 Street, period. And then you do that. Signs to be ordered and displayed through the Brookings County Highway Department. Okay. Signs to be displayed when hauling gravel out of the pit.
You want to say in and out, in or out?
In or out. And then let's see what it says. Brookings County Highway. I would take that last sentence out there. Brookings County Highway Superintendent requested. Yeah, I would just take it out.
Should we just put on there, leave that safety signs in there? Mr. Hill, you want that left in there, or?
Yeah, that's fine. We got the letter that he sent to us in the written record. So that would be in the transcript. That's what the whole gist was. Make sure that it was understood that the highway superintendent provided input to this particular part of the conditional use permit.
And I guess that
delete
way
that
then,
part.
just eliminate, That way then if the highway superintendent says it should be a flashing sign, it would be a flashing sign. If it should be a folding sign, it'd be a folding. If it's fixed, it's fixed. Whatever it is. Is that okay?
That way the sign is just their responsibility and not ours.
Right, they're paying for it because it's for their convenience, but it's also for the safety of the public, which is determined by the Brookings County Highway Department.
And the reason the highway department, and they've got a person hired by the highway department, it's his job is to install signs. And then the sign, we would not order a substandard sign. The sign would be what's authorized in the highway sign book or whatever they call it.
I think given the fact that there's already a township road, it covers all the bases.
I think any other concerns with the traffic, that corner of the sight lines can be given to the highway superintendent, and then he can work with it, along with, as we have in the past, the sheriff's department sometimes will chime in and say, this is what we should have and where it should go. So even the neighbors could talk to the sheriff's department and make a request for those types of signs also, or talk to Brian on what they think is necessary. Brian makes.
And Richard, you said that the road use agreement is really up to the township. It's not our responsibility.
Correct. We do not dictate what's in that road
All right.
agreement. If they happen to not come to agreement, we can step in and at that time, and with the assistance of the county highway department. Yep. No, it's, with all the other agreements and stuff we have in the county, they've all eventually have come to an agreement and brought us one, so.
Is there any other additions or corrections to the findings of facts?
Mr. Chair, I concur with the findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderwall. Richard, would you call vote?
Jensen,
No.
Bartley,
Aye.
Erickson, Gatsky,
Yes.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Kleinjohn,
Aye.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Troyan,
No.
and Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes. 7 ayes, 2 nays.
Moving on to agenda item 2022 CU 007. Lester Van Dyke has made an application 2022 CU 007 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for conditional use for a rock crushers Article 11, Section 11.01A Agricultural District, conditional use number 5, rock crushers. The property is described as the northwest 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49W, Aurora Township, and the west 631.2 feet of the northeast 1/4 of Section 1, Township 110 North, Range 49W, Aurora Township. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Diedrich. Second by Bartley. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2022 CU 007 for crushing. Lester Van Dyke has applied for Brookings County zoning ordinance, Article 11, agricultural district, 11.01, ag district, conditional use number 5A. Rock crushers to process gravel mined on site. A berm would be constructed along the road and the crushing area would be fenced in. Entrance and exit gates would be padlocked after hours and the hours of operation would be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Weed and dust control would be applied as needed. The proposed crushing would be for 10 years and the applicant will be using a crushing contractor to process the mined gravel. The applicant, he just approved the mining permit 2022 CU 006 this evening. We just heard that. And letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Aurora Township Chairman and Clerk, and the Brookings County Highway Department. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on March 22nd and 29th, 2022, and the White Tri-City Star on March 24th and 31st, 2022. Here's the applicant's application. The site plan. Site plan again. Going over the northwest quarter. There's the west 631 feet, 0.2 of the northeast quarter. Just looking over the map again, the proposed 478th Brookings County 25, 208th Street. Back in looking towards the north. This is the proposed crushing area in the mining area here, looking south from the driveway. Just the access road going to the back to the east. Mining area again, looking here. And this is the road going back to the west. And that's all that I have.
Since you're sitting there, would you please state your name and let us know if you got anything to add to Richard's staff report?
Lester Van Dyke, no, everything looks fine.
Any questions at this time from members of the board? Seeing none, I'll move to the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none. Is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Would you step back so I can step forward? Again, clearly state your name and you're limited to 5 minutes.
Yep, Mary Bound. Aurora Township has not given any improvement or agreement to this at all. I just talked to a board member and he said, no, the zoning should know this, that they have not given any agreement to the road usage of this pit. So you're aware of this.
Charlene Bound. I'm really just totally floored about how you spent more time worrying about signs flipping over or lighting up or anything like that than the safety of this road. How many of you have been on that road? Okay, you've been on that road. You know what it's like. This is a safety issue. A flashing sign, a open pit sign is not going to slow traffic down on this road. It's a heavy, heavy used road. Mr. Ford, you mentioned the pit that you did a year ago over there in Hendricks. That road is totally different than this road here that gets constant traffic. It's not just semis, it's school buses. It's your kids that could be out there in that road. It could be your grandparents. My grandchildren travel this road every single day to school. I'm going to have to worry a half a mile or a mile up the road when they cross that. A sign is not going to stop anything. I'm just totally floored. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that is opposed to this?
I think I'm the only one that's aware of how bad that corner is, because I'm the only one left out there this age that's been around that corner. It is very dangerous. You cannot see the traffic when you're coming from the south, any traffic coming from the north to turn in there. So there's a load of trucks coming, another semi's gonna turn to go back to the pit empty, bang. It's not a matter of if, it's when. That is a dangerous intersection. You need a stop sign there more than you need a caution sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. Is there anybody else opposed to it? Seeing and hearing none, I will now close the public portion of the hearing and move back to the board for additional comments or questions. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing none, Richard, would you read the findings of the facts?
Yes, Brookings County zoning conditional use permit 2022 CU 007, application being made by Lester Van Dyke regarding the following real property. The northwest 1/4 of section 1, township 110 north, range 49 west, Aurora Township, and the west 631 feet, 31.2 feet of the northeast 1/4 of section 1, township 110 north, range 49 west, Aurora Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on this 5th day of April 2022. Number 1, the Brookings County Zoning Commission is authorized but is empowered to grant such conditional use permit under the following sections of the zoning ordinance. Article 11, Section 11.01A, Agricultural District, conditional use number 5A, rock crushing. Number 2. Number 3. A. Truck entrance and exit will be off 200A Street and Aurora Township Minimum Maintenance Road to Brookings County Blacktop Road, number 25. 478th Avenue. No other truck entrance or exit route to be used. B. No on-street parking. No parking of equipment or storage of fuel or oil in the mining area. Separate parking lot and storage area for fuel, oil, and equipment with containment to be 300 foot away from the mined or actively mined areas. C. Dumpster service required for garbage disposal. D. Screening and buffering. Maintain outside perimeter berms as per the site plan with a 4-to-1 slope, with the top of the berm being 10 feet in width. Silt fence installed around the berms or perimeter of the mining area until grass is established to prevent erosion. Perimeter of the mining area, we'll change that to crushing. Whoop. Whoop. I'm going to put mining and crushing. That'll be. E, 32 square foot sign allowed and any required safety signs. F, spraying of all noxious weeds or other weeds before they go to seed. Monitor weed growth and weed control by spraying, mowing, or tilling by the permit holder or designated professional spray service. Word weed control pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 38-22. Inspect 2 times a year for weed growth and weed control by the Brookings County Weed Supervisor. G, comprehensive plan met for the agricultural district. H, driveway permit if required and a road maintenance agreement with Aurora Township be on file with the Brookings County Development Office. I, notification of Brookings County 911 or Brookings County Emergency Management of any hazardous materials or chemical spills. J, any required safety inspections for state permits. Number 4, Brookings County Zoning Commission further determines any conditions as conditional use on the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, setbacks. Should be crushing area. Feet from property lines, 100 feet from any public right-of-way, 200 feet from any residence. B, follow the Brookings County Ordinance 4.06 Aquifer Protection Performance Standards in Section 4.0606. Fuel storage and containment to be 300 foot away from crushing areas. Dust control such as magnesium chloride or like products in the driveway. Entrance, exit, loading areas as required. E, dust control as needed when processing, crushing, and screening gravel. Hours of operation be 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Entrance gates will be padlocked. No material may be brought in to crush, only material mined on site. I, South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources crushing permit required and a copy on file with the Brookings County Development Office. J, the reclamation plan, which will be crushed area to be leveled off, black dirt that was removed and put back on in the area and restored back to the farm ground. K, conditional use is valid for 10 years, expires April 5th, 2032, or when the crushing resource gravel has been depleted and crushing. Left gravel in there. Mining. Brookings County Board of Adjustment by at least 2/3 vote of its full membership hereby grants the petitioner a conditional use for the above described property as follows. Conditional use number 5A, rock crusher. This conditional use is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements and conditions in 3 and 4 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. The Brookings County zoning director, if approved, is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use permit. This conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
I just want to say that it did say majority vote, not 2/3 vote.
This is.
You stated 2/3. It said majority.
Okay.
And it should be majority, correct?
Should be a Board of Adjustment by at least a majority vote. That was the old version in my, of its full membership hereby grants the above petitioner a conditional use for the above. Keep reporting that out.
Is there any additions or corrections to the findings of facts?
Since we already had that signage thing, we don't have to repeat that, do we?
No, this is only
Thank you.
for the crushing application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I concur with the finding of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Gatsky. Richard, would you call a vote?
Bartley. Aye. Erickson. Aye. Gatsky.
Aye.
Dietrich.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Troyan.
No.
Jensen.
No.
Denford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Moving on, agenda item 2022 CU 008, joint well field incorporated by Gene Welts has made an application 2022 CU 008 to the Brookings County Board of Adjustment for conditional use Article 11, Section 11.01A Agricultural District Conditional Use Number 15, water pumping stations, elevated tanks, and similar essential public utilities and service structures. The property is described as BDK Wellfield Number 1A, Tract N North. BDK Wellfield Number 1A, Tract in the north half of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 51W, Preston Township. The tract number 4 in the northeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 51W, BDK, Wellfield number 1, tract the north 1/2 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 51W, Preston Township. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall.
Second.
Second by Gatsky. Richard, would you read the staff report?
Yes, 2022 CU 008, Joint Wellfield Inc. by Gene Wiltz has applied for A, agricultural conditional use number 15 for a new pump building, ground storage reservoir, and backwash ponds to expand the pumping capacity and storage of the Joint Wellfield Inc. Its facilities. JWF provides treated water for the Brookings Dual Water System and King Brook Rural Water. This is also for future construction site to expand the treatment facility of the joint wellfield facilities. The expansion project will take place in both parcels, and the smaller parcel was the original pumping station and was in use prior to the zoning requirements with the larger green space. This conditional use will allow the infrastructure expansion to use both parcels, and public notices were published in the Brookings Register on March 22nd and 29th, 2022, and the Volga Tribune on March 24th and 31st, 2022. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Preston and Eureka Township Chairman and Clerk, and the Brookings County Highway Department. Here's their conditional use application. This is their site plan. This is the existing facilities. This is where they want to expand here on there. This is the one parcel noted here in the corner. This is the second parcel that it will expand into across the joint lines, property lines there. The red area is in the floodplain, and they have done a floodplain development permit with elevations on there by their engineer. This is just looking towards the southwest of the green area of the main plant, towards the green area. This is looking the intersection down towards that. This is the main plant right here. This is looking west from the water plant, and this is the green area west of these buildings right here, looking to the southwest. So, and that's all that I have, and the engineer is here this evening to answer any questions you may have.
Please step forward, sit down, and clearly state your name.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bjorn Sellner of Gene Wiltz, the manager of Joint Wellfield.
Do you have anything to add to Richard's report?
I do not. Nice work, Richard.
Is there any comments or questions from members of the board? Seeing none, I'll now open the public portion of the hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that is for this? Seeing and hearing none, is there anybody in the audience that is opposed to this? Seeing and hearing none, I'll now close the public portion of the hearing. Move back to the board for any comments or questions. Seeing and hearing none, Richard, would you read the findings of the facts?
Yes, Brookings County Zoning Conditional Use Permit 2022 CU 008, application being made by Joint Wellfield Inc. by Gene Wiltz regarding the following real property. BDK Wellfield number 1A, tract the north half of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 51 West, Preston Township, and Track 4 in the northeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Section Township 112 North, Range 51 West, and BDK Wellfield Track 1 in the north half of the northeast 1/4 of Section 25, Township 112 North, Range 51 West, Preston Township, located at 2007 466th Avenue, Bruce, South Dakota. After a due public hearing have been held on the 5th day of April 2022. Number 1, regarding the Article 11, Section 11.01A Agricultural District, Conditional Use Permit Number 15, water pumping stations, elevated tanks, and other similar public utility and service structures. Number 2, none stated. Number 3A, main entrance will be 466th Avenue, which is also known as Brookings County Blacktop Road Number 7. B, off-street parking and loading areas, no on-street parking. C, utilities and refuge and service areas, dumpster service required for garbage disposal. Screening and buffering, none stated. E, 32 square foot sign allowed and any required safety signs. F, this is for the open areas. I added this in here, control of weeds and other, before they go to seed, and monitor weed growth by spraying, mowing, and tilling by the permit or designated professional sprayer service, and weed control is pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 38-22. G, the comprehensive plan is met by the agricultural district. H, driveway is located off Brookings County Blacktop Road Number 7. I, none stated. J, any required safety inspections for state permits. Number 4A, follow the county ordinance, Chapter 4.06, Aquifer Protection Performance Standards in Section 4.0606. And B, Brookings County Floodplain Development Permit required, and follow the Brookings County Floodplain Ordinance for building in the floodplain. Brookings County Board of Adjustment, by at least a majority vote of its full membership, hereby grants the above petitioner a conditional use for the above described real property as follows. Conditional use number 15. Water pumping stations, elevated tanks, and similar essential public utilities and service structures. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements in 3 and 4 above, upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Brookings County zoning ordinance. The Brookings County zoning director is approved as authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use permit. This conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of April, 2022.
Is there any additions or corrections to the findings of facts?
I concur with findings of facts.
Thank you, Mr. Diedrich. Richard, would you call the vote?
Erickson.
Aye.
Gatsky.
Aye.
Dietrich.
Aye.
Kleinjohn.
Aye.
Vanderwall.
Aye.
Troyan.
Aye.
Oh, excuse me. Storhog. Jensen.
Yes.
Bartley. And Ford.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
Moving on, agenda item number 17, department reports.
Yes, sir. Today during county commission, we had an engineer come in and talk to the county commission. Brookings County, for your information, is in the process of, FEMA's actually, Federal Emergency Management Agency, is in the process of updating our flood maps. They've got multiple engineering firms doing the update. We had a local contracting company come in and talk about that there's money out there to review the FEMA flood maps, and that they just asked the county commission to take a look at. I'm just letting you know as an FYI. Me and Richard, we've been to meetings on this, and my personal feeling is we don't need an additional engineer to come in and look at our flood maps, but we will, we'll probably discuss it with Jay Gilbertson from East Dakota Water Development District. And then we've got another hydrology person that I deal with a little bit. I'll get some of their advice on it. The feds are really doing the due diligence, in my opinion. And the examples that this gentleman gave us is like town of Esterline and places like that, and we don't deal with towns, you know, we deal with the whole county issue. But we're gonna take a look at it, and I want you to know, as a county planning commission, that we are looking at it. And I happen to be the floodplain administrator, Richard's the deputy floodplain administrator. That's why we get involved in it. Today, I got some bad news. I attended a cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency seminar online, and there was this woman on there, and she said you can expect these extreme weather events, the way that the winds are circling above us, that we're probably in for a good 10-year cycle, and that she doesn't see any way that this it's going to get colder in the winter and it's going to get hotter in the summer. And she said it is, you don't have to use the word climate change, but you're going to need more air conditionings and you're going to need more heaters, is the way she put it in plain English. So call it what you want, especially the drought. Be aware. Right now the South Dakota maps show Brookings County just about out of it, but she said that could easily shift. And that was the March 24 map that she showed. So just be aware that if it's hot, you're going to have to use air conditioning. Of course, I realize you're not used to that. It's not like it was back in the 1960s when you had snow 12 feet above the thing. Look at this last winter. I just put my snow blower up and didn't even have gas in it because I never used it all winter. So me and Richard's going to a storm drainage meeting Thursday. The city of Brookings wants to look at the storm drainage area in the joint jurisdiction area, and they finally figured out they might want to include us into it. So we'll give you an update on that at the next meeting. Richard's giving presentations at South Dakota State University next week. He goes and gives a good CAFO presentation, mainly on horses, I believe, but different CAFO requirements from our zoning ordinance. The college students over at South Dakota State University, and does a good job, and they keep inviting them back. So I'll be on vacation from April 15 through 21, out of state. Severe Weather Week is April 25 to 29. If you're interested in storm spotter training, we'll have that on April 26th. It's a Tuesday over at South Dakota State University. And I'll be missing the May meeting. I'll be in Alabama getting some emergency manager training down there in Tornado Land. And that's all I have. Richard may have something else to add.
Yep. Coming up in June, we're going to have the joint public hearing on the joint jurisdictional proposed ordinance. So, as of right now, looking at Monday, June 13th as the preferred date. So, does anybody have anything going on that date? Yes.
My kid's birthday.
That, if Monday didn't work, it would be the Thursdays, either the 9th, 16th, or the 23rd. But the preferred date would be Monday, June 13th. So it would probably to be determined, probably earlier.
But we'll have it as early as we can get it.
Well, yeah, it will be as early.
No, earlier, as early as we can get it.
No, that should be the public hearing where the public gets to come in and look at it and make any suggestions, like opponents and proponents, just like we do
Thank you, folks.
conditional uses and variances.
And we'd like Luke to speak after Richard's done, sir.
That's all that I have. It looks like May, we're going to have a fairly active May meeting, so things are off to a good start. So that's all that I have.
Luke, do you have anything?
I'll just quick note. I'll back up what Bob had mentioned about FEMA updating the floodplain ordinances. I've had some discussions with them about making sure that information is digitally available, because so far all they've sent to our counties are paper maps, which are not particularly helpful, but we're working on getting that digitally available. I would expect by the fall you're going to have that information in your hands. I don't know if you've heard differently, Bob, but like you mentioned, Bob, there have been at least 2 different national companies doing this work, so I'd be surprised if you need much help out of any other engineering firm on this. So
Well, see what we
that's
got. in
all I've
Brookings-
got.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people. They go out and they get their own FEMA documents out of the floodplain, and they're using all that data. It's not like we need a third party to come in and tell FEMA how to do their job. FEMA's already
Yeah,
doing their job.
Yeah, the only thing that you might run into, for what it's worth, we got our paperwork, I think it was on purpose, so that it was February 22nd, 2022. Well, we got all our paperwork at that day in Cottington County, and there's a list of whether or not they're going to honor letter of map revisions, letter of map amendments, and so on. So that's the only point in which you might need an engineer to review it. And I know in this county and these towns, they've said it's up to you, property owner, to explain why this is or isn't in the floodplain. So that's it. I just want to back up what Robert was saying.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Luke. Is there any need for an executive session?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Vanderwall, second by